So I wanted to share with you some of my notes about John Donne's poem Song. So we'll kind of go through this together, and I'll share with you a little bit about what this poem's all about. So, Song by John Donne. This is sort of a love poem that John Donne wrote, and you'll see a lot of conceit in this poem, and I think there's one example that I found that I can share with you of a paradox, and there's definitely a lot of hyperbole as well. So the gist of this poem is that it's basically about how temporary absence is similar to the permanent absence of death. So here he's talking about how his temporary absence, as he goes away, as he's traveling, or the speaker in the poem, I should say, is talking about how, it's sort of like practice for death, because death is permanent absence, whereas, this temporary absence is just that, is temporary. So let's start with the first stanza here. So, sweetest love, I do not go for weariness of thee, nor in hope the world can show a fitter love for me. But since that I must die at last, 'tis best to use myself in jest, thus feign deaths to die. So what is happening here in this first section of the poem? He's kind of reminding, or the speaker's reminding his love that he's not leaving because of her. It's nothing that she's done, and it's not because he thinks that he can find something better out there somewhere. So he's sort of reminding her, this isn't about anything that you've done. It's not because I think that I can do better than you. It's just that I have a business trip I need to go on. So that's that first part. Eventually I will die, and so this is sort of practice, I guess, for that. I don't know if this is meant to be sort of humorous, so as you can see I put a little ha-ha there. So ha-ha, maybe funny, I don't know. So this next part, yesterday the sun went hence, and yet is here today. He hath no desire nor sense, nor half so short away. So here, you can see in my notes here, if you can read my writing, the sun doesn't have any thought, the sun doesn't have a brain, and it has much farther to travel. So this is a great example of a conceit, comparing his return to the sun's return. So he's saying, the sun went away yesterday and it still came back. It has a much farther way to travel than I do. So as you can see in this next part, then fear not me, but believe that I shall make speedier journey, since I take more wings and spurs than he being the sun. So like the sun, I'll return, but I'm going to return much faster. Next stanza. How feeble is man's power, that if good fortune fall, cannot add another hour, nor a lost hour recall. So he's talking here, you see I have the word feeble circled here. So he's talking here about how man is weak. We have no power to add or subtract anything to our lives. It doesn't matter, if we have good fortune, if we have good luck, it's not going to allow us to live longer, to have any more time in our lives. We can't get back any time that we've lost. So we have very little power here. But come bad chance, and we join to it our strength, and we teach it art and length, itself over us to advance. So the interpretation I have here is that even bad circumstances lead to creativity and productivity. So even when we experience bad times, even when there's difficulties in our life, it can help us to create art like this. You see a lot of excellent artists that produce incredible creative work when they deal with struggle, when there's troubles that happen. And maybe you're seeing some of that even now during this whole crisis. So something interesting there that you can probably make connections to, how difficulties, how suffering leads to character development. Next stanza. When thou sighest not wind, but sighest my soul away. Wow, that's pretty intense. So this is a great example of hyperbole. Your sadness takes away my soul, and your tears kill me. So what he's saying here is, that that when she's upset, when you sigh, you generally are upset, like you have that big like it shows the sadness and the frustration you might feel. So when she sighs, she doesn't sigh wind, but she sighs his soul away. Great example of poetic hyperbole there. When thou weepest, unkindly kind, there's an example of paradox, unkindly kind, my life's blood doth decay. Again, more hyperbole. So, again, this is just showing his great love for her, and that if you really love somebody, then their sadness makes you feel really upset, really sad. And in this case, it takes your soul away. It cannot be that thou lovest me as thou sayest, if in thine my heart thou waste that heart, that art the best of me. So he's saying here that if you love me, please don't be sad. That kills me. And maybe you can relate to this. If someone that you care about is sad about something, you feel that grief along with them. So, you might be able to see this. This is kind of difficult to read, but grief can undermine the confidence of the beloved. So he's saying here, if you are sad, then it takes away my confidence. If I can't go and do what I need to do, if I know that you're going to be here and you're going to be sad. Okay, last stanza. Let not thy divining heart forethink me any ill. Destiny may take thy part, and may thy fears fulfill. But think that we are but turned aside to sleep. They who one another keep alive, never parted be. So he's saying here, don't think badly of me. Don't think badly of me, because you may tempt fate and I might really die. So if you think badly of me, if you are upset by this, then it could tempt fate and I might really disappear. I might really die. And then he gives her advice. He says, just pretend that we're asleep next to each other. And then we can keep each other alive through thought and through love. So rather than worrying about me being gone, just pretend that we're sleeping and that I'm just right next to you, turned in the other direction, turning to the other direction. So here, this is kind of a message or a theme that you might see in the poem. So being apart from a loved one is like death. He's comparing through this whole poem and trying to show us how being apart from a loved one is like death. So there's some questions here at the bottom. So I'm just going to kind of review some of the answers here with you. So what does the speaker say? His reason is for leaving. He's basically saying that his departure, he's leaving as practice. So this is like practice for when I'm really gone, for when I'm really dead, which is kind of an odd thing to say. So the second part here, to what remark of his beloved might he be responding in this poem? So if you've ever been with somebody, if you've ever been in a relationship, and you start to question that person's feelings for you, that's kind of what is happening. That's kind of what's happening here at the start of this poem, where he says, sweetest love, I do not go for weariness of thee. So he's reassuring her in this poem. It's presumably she's said to him, why, are you leaving? Is it my fault that you're leaving? Did I do something? And he's saying, no, it's not anything that you've done. So that's the second part of that question. So number 2, how would you outline the speaker's argument? So we kind of went through that together. So, he's saying, I'm not leaving because of you. This is practice for, if I were to die, if I were to go, then this would be practice for that. And then he goes on to say that you shouldn't be sad while I'm gone, because then, it steals away my soul. It makes me unhappy when you're unhappy. Just pretend that I am asleep, pretend that we're asleep. Okay, the next part, what might the argument's effect on the beloved be? Well, he's trying to convince her of his love. So this whole poem is his desire to convince her that, yes, he does love her. Number 3, why might the speaker have chosen to present his feelings in the form of witty arguments? Well, he's trying to soothe her fears about their separation and almost to distract her attention. If you've ever been sad, maybe you have a friend who likes to tell jokes or likes to, I don't know if anybody does this, but if you like to do puzzles or things like that, because it's a distraction. So he tries to, rather than just speaking plainly, he speaks metaphorically. He uses conceits, he uses the hyperbole in order to really cause her to think and to prove his love for her, because it's very clever and well thought out. It's not just, oh, no, 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 I love you, the end. It's, here's this whole poem. Here, he's obviously put some thought and effort into his feelings here. And then the last question. The speaker uses exaggeration to persuade his beloved. Do you think exaggeration is a useful or valid persuasive tool? So this is interesting because, if you exaggerate things, if you have someone that you care about who, you ask a serious question, do you love me? Do you care about me? And they respond by exaggerating it. Yes, it can take away or undermine credibility, but it also is very vivid and persuasive and powerful. So that's about all I've got for this poem. I will give you a little bit more later about the next poem, which is Valediction Forbidding Mourning. So that's it for now.